everyone, how are you all? I hope you all are having a great weekend. I think everyone has gotten a long weekend. So happy belated Dashera, and I hope all of yours long weekend is going completely nicely and full of bliss and absolutely no work and responsibilities. Because nothing kills the vibe of the weekend than even a little bit of work that we have to do, whether it's household or whether it's outside. And it's extremely almost impossible, I would say, to have a weekend full of any kind of stress. But if you have managed to do that so far, I congratulate you. So today I am going to start with a little bit of a heavy topic. Not really heavy, but I would say something that requires a lot of soul searching. And I might sound or I might come off as a little bit of preachy, and maybe you think that, I have no locus to talk about this, but just hear me out. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 things that you should not do while you are still in the first year of your job. And now when I say job, I mean that the first job you get, like first proper job that you get after you do your college, your graduation, whatever your career trajectory is. For me personally, I got my first job when I was 23, 24 years old after my law school. And it's the job that I currently do. I mean, I work in a law firm. And I don't have obviously like 20 years of law experience or anything like that. But I have lived the first year of being a law student, of being a lawyer. Hence, I think I'm qualified enough to preach you on this. And of course, again, it's a very like subjective advice. I try to be as objective as I can, but again, people's lives and people's ways of looking at lives can be different. So take whatever I say with a pinch of salt. I'm not trying to come off as, holier than thou or preachy or anything like that. Just trying to help you guys, because I feel that you guys are my friends and I'm just here to share my experience. Now, when we have gotten all of that out of the way and the intro has already become very long, let's just dive right into what I actually have to say. Let's just begin, and yeah, see you on the other side of the intro. Number 1, the first thing that you should not do while you are still, figuring out your job and you're in your first year of your job is to buy something really expensive and hence get into the vicious trap of EMIs. I tell you from my own experience. When I actually started working, I had a laptop that stopped working. I didn't have a working laptop, and on the first day of your corporate job, your organization, no matter what kind of job that you do, your organization is going to tell you that you are supposed to have a functional system at your hand. Even, so that, on weekends or, when you're home, you are able to work. You cannot just go off the grid. And for that, when my college laptop stopped working, a laptop that had been with me for 6 years, I requested my office if they could provide me one, but at that time there was shortage. So what I did is I had to buy another one, and I always wanted to buy a MacBook. And I bought a MacBook Air. I bought it right then and there because I thought there was no way of, waiting for it. And this laptop actually, 6 years old laptop can actually ditch me anytime. So what if that happens? So I actually got a laptop, a MacBook Air. And at that time, obviously, I got a huge discount on that, but it was still about 56,000 rupees. And I knew I would be able to pay it off. I was earning that much. But I actually chose a plan to pay for that laptop in 6 months EMIs. Now, again, it was a very big deal for me, okay, because from being a student, now I am, a lawyer, and I have discussed it with my friends and I've discussed it with my parents and all of that. But there was a big risk that I was taking. My first 6 salaries that I ever got in my life, I used them to pay my EMI, like a portion of that salary. And yes, that laptop is great, and that laptop has paid off its price in how I loved, the MacBook that I've gotten. And by that time, I had not used any Apple products, so I was very anxious if that experience is going to go like really badly. But actually, it didn't, and I love that laptop. However worth that purchase was, I still feel in retrospect that I should have not taken that step. Because as soon as you start in a journey of your job, you should not get into this trap of EMIs and loans and stuff like that until and unless absolutely necessary. Because if you can avoid it, please avoid it. Because what happens is, when you start your own job, yes, the money seems lucrative first time you're earning, and as I've discussed already, in India we don't do a lot of part-time jobs, so most of us, we earn a proper check once we are, out of our graduations or masters or something like that, and it hits you differently. But you have to be careful with that kind of money coming in. You can't just be like, okay, everything right now is available on EMI, so let me just buy everything. Because your money is not whatever money that you earn in your initial years. You have to be very careful with it, because if in case you want to change your job, or in case you want to take some risks in your career, you should have a cushion. And if you have earned for 2 3 years, it's even if your parents are potent and sufficient, self-sufficient enough, you would be hesitant to ask them, and your parents would also expect you to have a cushion already because you have worked for 2 3 years. And I would say, don't really spend in a lot of luxuries in your first year of earning, because it's just not worth it. I did buy a phone for my father and my MacBook, but and I planned it very properly, and I could afford that, and it really didn't impact my financial condition. But again, it was just sheer luck that it didn't. The major point is that either you spend first year of your job without buying any luxuries, or you at least come to a point where you're at least sure of whatever you're doing, you're going to have at least few months in it. What if you find that job unbearable? What if I would have taken like that 6 months EMI, and in 3 months I would have felt like this is not something I want to do? And also, if you want to take risks in your career, you should take them in initial years. Most of our parents, they have had one job and they're stuck to that job for like most part of their lives. But we are not built that way. I think, us millennials or Gen Z or whatever you want to call our generations, we really like to switch it up. We are not really hesitant in changing jobs. And your loans, your EMIs, your extraneous luxury wali financial responsibilities should not really be like a baby that you can't really take a risk and leave the job that you absolutely hate because you have bills to pay and EMIs to pay for cars and luxury bags and stuff like that. Stuff that you didn't really need in the first place. It brings me to my second point. Number second, don't switch up your entire lifestyle just because you have some money coming in. Listen, being a working professional after being a broke student for how so many years is actually really great. It gives you like a boost of confidence. It feels, it gives you a feeling that you have arrived. You look at your bank balance, you're like, all of that is great, and it will happen. It's natural, and you should be proud of yourself because that's hard-earned money, correct? However, just because you have gotten some disposable income, just because right now your salary is really great or whatever, you should not switch your entire lifestyle altogether. I understand that from being a student to a professional, lifestyle inflation is inevitable, and you should spend on yourself. I mean, why are you earning for, right? But you need to strike a balance between earning for some purposes and just a natural lifestyle inflation to just becoming like post makeover Anne Hathaway from Devil Wears Prada. You don't really have to be like, never say this to yourself that I am earning this much, so I should only be wearing clothes like this. I should only be carrying a bag this much. No. If you really want to do anything on student budget, if you really want to look for sales, if you really want to, I don't know, take cheaper seats somewhere and you feel like it makes sense and it doesn't really hamper your enjoyment, it absolutely does not make sense that you have to go for more expensive options just because you have started earning. Don't go broke just because you want to prove to other people that you're not broke. Do not really get into this pomp and show of your own wealth. Yes, you have a disposable income, great, and you're proud of yourself, very legitimately so. Hell, I'm proud of you. But the thing is, if you want to switch your entire lifestyle in your first year of earning, it puts a big financial pressure on yourself. And as I said, some of us, we take corporate jobs right out of the bat and they pay great. But what if you figure out that you actually want to do academics, or you actually want to do something else that maybe pays little less, but because you have gotten so used to that kind of lifestyle, you would not be able to take a low paying job. Maybe you like the work that much, but you would not be able to take make those sacrifices in, early on in your career and get like a job that pays less, because you're too used to, I don't know, being rich, being Carrie from Sex and the City. Whereas there is nothing crazy, there is nothing uncool about living a sensible lifestyle. If you like things on student budget, even after you have started earning, no shame in still going with those options. And so that you can, take decisions in your career which are not entirely based on what kind of money and what kind of lifestyle it brings to your life, especially in your early 20s, especially in your initial years of working, because that's the period where most of us, we are not married, we don't have kids, we have lesser financial responsibilities, and hence we can take those risks without thinking too much. So because we don't have real barriers, don't try to create artificial, unnecessary financial barriers. It brings me to number 3. This is the controversial one, and I'm sensing a lot of hate and criticism will come my way, but that's okay. Hate and criticism is also, a part of conversation. I would like to suggest that don't get married or have kids in the first year of you working. I am sorry, but I'm gonna say that. I started working in 2019, right, like 1 year after that. If you would have asked me, I was changed as a person. You don't know about money till you have earned it. Most of us, we live on our parents' money, till we are students or something like that. We are given some allowance and we know how to handle that allowance, right? But handling an allowance that somebody else has given you that you have not worked for, and then actually spending money that you have worked for, is extremely different. And you will know the actual value of money in that 1 year. And if in that 1 year where you're just getting used to, working and doing a 9 to 5 or whatever kind of job that you're doing, and you are just figuring out what your relationship is with money. If you start taking decisions like having kid or getting married in the first year, I don't think you or any person in that capacity would have that level of maturity and that level of sensibleness. Is that a word? Sensibility to take those kind of decisions. Of course, there's a huge debate around what is the age where you should get married and what is the correct age of having kids and this and that. And whatever age that I feel right personally for me to get married and have kids, you might think it's too late or too early, and you might still have an opinion on that. I'm not giving you an opinion on your entire life's trajectory. I'm just making a very logical argument in my side that getting married or having kids or something, they are not only huge emotional decisions, they are also huge financial decisions. And a person who has just tried to establish, who's just, in their initial years of establishing their relationship with money and trying to understand what earning and making and saving and investing money is, should not be making such huge financial decisions in the first year of their journey. Think about it. And don't hate me. Number 4. Okay, this is also a bit controversial, but just hear me out. Do not switch within the first year of your job. I know some jobs can be very, very horrendous. I know that you might start something, but in 1 or 2 or 3 months, you feel like this is not my cup of tea, and this job does not look like what it is from the outside. Because let's face it, right? If when you're studying for that job, when you're studying to get like a minimum qualification that's required for that job, and when you are studying for the interview process, when you're sitting for the interview process, you don't really know. You cannot actually know, no matter how many people you speak to and how much researching that you do. You cannot prepare yourself for what's actually going to be ahead of you. You don't know till you actually go and do that job. And maybe within a couple of months, you figure out that this is not correct or this is not for me. Until and unless situation becomes extremely out of the hand, until and unless, I'm not going to give examples, but if things like harassment, if things like torture, if things like absolute, um, financially it does not make sense to you, there are, other logistic reasons, until unless it becomes very, very, very worse, I would like to say that do not, absolutely do not, go and make a financial decision like that, where you switch your job within the first year of your earning. That's just absolutely impractical, because what happens is that gives a wrong impression on your CV. It's not actually correct on your CV. If not 1 year, just at least try to stick for 6 months, Because if you are changing the jobs but you still want to be in that sector somewhere else, they would look at your CV and they would be like, what kind of blip is that, what kind of short stint is that, can't you just like, why is this person not able to be in that job at least for a year, especially when it's your first job. So until unless it becomes absolutely bearable, and I know you, I can trust your judgment on that, be there for 1 year, if not at least 6 months. If you know, and then switch. That would be my suggestion. And number 5, and the last suggestion of my lecture, is actually you will find it very contrary to what I've said in the 4th point. But don't be complacent. I would really like to say that just don't be complacent. Okay. What happens, you guys, is that, let me just, what happens, you guys, is we as human beings, we look at our fathers, we look at the generation above us, and we try to, learn something from them, which is great. We should do that, but we should also adapt it to our lives, or whatever makes sense to us right now, like today. Most of our parents, they have been in the same job since, they got it like right after college or something like that. And I'm not saying necessarily experiment, but I am saying that don't be complacent that you have gotten a job and this is the job that you have to do for the rest of your lives. No. Just because your career has started, even if you have gotten a really good job right out of the bat, right after law school or right after college or whatever, it's still very, very okay. And it should actually be the norm that you should aim for something higher. Yes, I'm telling you to not switch within 1 year or whatever, but I'm saying that just so that it doesn't look bad on your CV. If you feel like this job doesn't make sense to you, if you feel like that you have better opportunities, or no matter if this job is actually paying good, like on an average, and you're earning more than your peers or whatever, still if you feel like you deserve more and your talent and your potential deserves more, you should be able to look for other options. Yes, you shouldn't switch within the first year, but if that does not make sense to you, if you want to change the nature of the job, if you want to change the sector that you're working in, if you want to change it, shake up your career entirely, fix your finances, do your minimum job, that do your minimum duration, serve your minimum duration on your job, that does not feel like a blip on your CV, and then move on. There is no need for you to stick to one particular job. Just make sure, just be practical with it, but don't try to be extremely complacent कि अब job लग गई है तो अब ठीक है, अब मेरी life set है, अब मुझे पूरी जिंदगी यही करना है. No. Just because you're employed right now, it does not mean that you should cease to take challenges, and it does not mean that you cannot embrace adventures in your professional life. So if you are someone who is in their first year of job, congratulations for first of all landing a job and getting a means of livelihood. I'm sure you're going to do great, and I'm sure you're going to meet a lot of good people and learn a lot of good things. Keep these 5 things in mind if my advice means anything to you, and a lot of luck and love to you. If you like what I do on this channel, please like, share and subscribe, and I will meet you guys in my next one, and I hope you like my next video also.